When I saw the WrestleMania 31 logo, I thought it was interesting. It was interesting that they chose that play button. And I thought maybe that's because they were trying to have that signify the WWE network. Maybe they were trying to signify the fact that they were in Silicon Valley. I wasn't sure, but I'm like, there's a reason for it, but I'm not really 100% sure I know what it is or frankly that I understand what it is, but there's got to be a reason for it. But I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But then I see with the recent announcement that WrestleMania 32 is going to be at AT&T Stadium in the Dallas, Texas area, I see once again that they have something else other than the number or the Roman numeral in the logo for WrestleMania. This time it's a star to represent that they're in Texas, the Lone Star State, to represent that they're going to be in the Cowboys Stadium. I don't really know. I'm like, wait a second. Why is that the logo? Is that just a promotional piece at the beginning and then we'll get a finalized logo later on, which is sometimes the case of what we get? But I'm like, there has to be more to this. There has to be something else to this that I'm not seeing or hearing about at this time. Well, apparently there was. Because I saw a couple of days ago some reports out there in the interwebs on the old dirt sheets that there is a reason for this. And of course, it would only come from Vince McMahon. And the reason being is that he feels that putting that number, that Roman numeral, on the WrestleMania logo makes the event feel old. Wow. Now, grant you, putting a number there, saying this is WrestleMania 31, this is WrestleMania 32, and reminding people that this is the 31st edition or this is the 32nd edition, does in a way make it feel old. But how is that a bad thing? That's a good thing. That's a great thing. That is a tremendous thing. That instead of running away from or being embarrassed of, you should be embracing and running towards and emphasizing as much as you would think you possibly can. And if anything to me, this represents Vince's age. Not just in terms of his age physically, but his age mentally, in the fact that he is continuously losing more and more touch and grip on reality, and that he loses patience, and as so often the case, as you get older, you become less patient, you make more kind of knee-jerk, reflex, reactionary decisions that aren't always all that sound, and you focus on the wrong things and all of this. This type of focus and this type of emphasis to me from Vince McMahon shows his age and shows just how out of touch he is with reality and just how much he's losing his grip. It truly does. Because putting that number there on the WrestleMania logo does do many things, including making the event feel old. But that's exactly what you want. Having that event with that type of history implies, when you put that number on there, that this event is to be taken seriously. This isn't the first or second go-round for this. This is going to be WrestleMania 31. Next year will be WrestleMania 32. Say what you want about the form of entertainment. Say what you want about the company. Say what you want about the wrestlers. Say what you want about the fans. Been around over 3 decades for a reason, and we're going strong. That's a credibility that is hard to get and can only be built up over a long period of time. It establishes a prestige for the event as well. Just like with the Super Bowl. They have Super Bowl 49. They put the number, they put the Roman numeral there to establish that prestige, to establish that credibility. Not only is this WrestleMania, but this is WrestleMania number 31. And when you really think about it, it is one event in WWE where you have it like that. It's just one of many things that makes WrestleMania so unique. Other than the fact that it's usually the one event every year that is in a big stadium that hosts 70+ thousand people for an attendance figure. But it's also the fact that it's not like the 2015 Royal Rumble or SummerSlam 2015 or Survivor Series 2015 or any other pay-per-view. It is a pay-per-view name and a number to represent the number of years. It is your oldest, longest-running continuous pay-per-view that you have. It is your biggest event of the year. It is your Super Bowl event, so to speak. Even non-WWE fans, even non-wrestling fans know WrestleMania. Even they feel WrestleMania. Even fans that haven't been WWE fans for years, or fans that hate the WWE today, or have always hated the WWE, or have grown increasingly disenfranchised with the WWE product, know damn good and well that WrestleMania season has a different feel to it. And they know deep down inside that they get a little bit excited about it, even if they try to fight against it. This event has credibility, prestige, a lot of history, and a lot of importance. Not only just from a wrestling standpoint, but from an entertainment standpoint as well. I mean, think about the amount of mainstream publicity and press that you get for an event like this. Think about the fact that, like with the Final Four, like with the Super Bowl, like with other big sporting events, the All-Star games in different sports, what have you, there are cities that actually bid for this crap in an Olympic-style way. There are cities that have to come to WWE to win the right to host WrestleMania. It's not WWE going to this city and begging them and pleading with them to host this event. Cities want this. Areas want this. This is a big boon for a city that gets it come that WrestleMania week in terms of tourism dollars into the local economy. There are a lot of sports, frankly, that wish they had a singular event that could sit there and do what WrestleMania does. Why would you do anything to take away from that? And taking that number off of the logo, in a way, to me, is trying to take away from that. You call this the Super Bowl of sports entertainment. Well, how ridiculous is it that you're taking away the number of the Roman numeral, which establishes so many things that I've talked about, the credibility, the prestige, the importance, the historical significance of the event. When you're trying to pattern it after the Super Bowl, that still keeps that Roman numeral there to do what it needs to do, which is in part establish all of those things that I just referenced. You look at other sporting events. NASCAR begins their year with their most important and biggest, most significant race. And they talk about this is the X number running of the Daytona 500. In IndyCar, not that many people in this country, I don't think, watch IndyCar racing anymore, but a lot of them will still, Memorial Day weekend, watch the Indianapolis 500, and it'll be the Y edition of the Indianapolis 500, or this number running of the Indianapolis 500. It's there to establish history and prestige and credibility and importance and significance of the event. You look at other sports like golf, they always say this many Masters, this is the whatever edition of the US or British Open or the PGA Championship. You do that for a reason. Yeah, that makes the product feel old, just like it does in horse racing with the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, or the Belmont. But that's a good thing. That's something to embrace. That's not something to run away from. That's not something to shy away from. That's something to emphasize. That's something to polish and put on your mantle. I understand the thought process of not wanting to feel old. But there are certain times where you want to feel old. You want to have history because it establishes credibility and prestige and importance and significance. It forces people to take you and your event seriously. And the WWE doesn't want to classify themselves as sport, more of a form of entertainment, even though they call themselves sports entertainment. They don't want to be professional wrestling, fine, but even you look at entertainment. It's the X number edition of the Oscars, the Y number edition of the Grammys, or BET Choice Awards, or whatever the hell. They still have a number. The bigger the number, the longer the event's been around, the more important and significant the event is. Why would they take away from that? Why would they de-emphasize that? Especially when it comes to the WWE, what I find really kind of mind-boggling about this, frankly, is the fact that they do this all the time in terms of emphasizing their age in a good way by talking about this is the longest weekly episodic television show in history when referring to Raw. Celebrating Raw 1000 and bringing all these legends back from the past. Talking about the 15th anniversary of SmackDown. Hell, they have their own Hall of Fame event every year come WrestleMania weekend, which implies age, which implies that your product and your form of entertainment has been around a long time. It does all of that. So the WWE themselves does that on a consistent basis, basically every single week throughout the year. But how is that a bad thing? It's not only a good thing, it's a great thing that you shouldn't shy away from, you should embrace. To me, not only does this represent just how out of touch with reality Vince is and just how much he is losing his grip on what is really important, it is the personification and the representation of corporate America in a lot of ways. In that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's why the dumb dicks in charge of corporations always try to fix it. Because they want to put their spin on it. They want to put their twist on it. They think they know better. And more oftentimes they don't. And it ends up blowing up in their face. Now, most certainly changing this logo to not have the Roman numeral is not going to blow up in WWE's face, and most certainly not signaling the end of times and impending gloom and doom for the company. But it is a representation of the priorities being askewed and being very off when it comes to this company. Of all the things you could focus on when it comes to WrestleMania and all the things that you could emphasize when it comes to WrestleMania, you're worried about the logo. And in particular, the Roman numeral being attached to it, making the event feel old. Of all the things you could focus on in the company, on all the things you could think about in the company, this apparently was important enough for Vince McMahon to make a decision on. How ridiculous, and frankly, how stupid. Why would you want to run away from something that helps establish so many wonderful things for your event, your product, your company as a whole? This is your baby, Vince. Why would you sit there and do anything to take away from that? This is your baby. This is your bitch. I just don't get it. It's not something to go on a big, long, rampaging, yelling, screaming rant about, which I'm sure a lot of you are very thankful for and your eardrums most certainly appreciate. But it is something that just makes you go, what the fuck? It's just something that makes you go, is this what this company deems to be important in 2015? After all these years, now they're worried about the age of WrestleMania and whether or not it makes the event feel old to have the Roman numeral attached. Why don't you focus on delivering an outstanding WrestleMania show? Why don't you focus on fixing issues when it comes to your product and your current creative and your inability to create new stars? Why don't you focus on expanding into the international markets? Why don't you focus on trying to compete better in the domestic market and getting a bigger share of overall audience? I would think those things, and among so many other things, would be so much more important and significant that they would command and demand so much of the WWE's time that they wouldn't be focused on trivial shit like this. But alas, they are. And what else would you expect? Like so many other corporations in America, the WWE exhibits some of those same pathetically predictable patterns of behavior. You want to take away something that establishes so many good things for your event. Only Vince would think that that's a great idea.